It was supposed to be a joke, a mockumentary for our advanced media class. Something spooky to pad our reels and maybe go viral if we got lucky. Bear Creek had all the makings of classic local legend. Missing hikers, torn-up campsites, mangled livestock, and old-timers muttering about a hairy thing with glowing red eyes. It was me, Jason, the director, Nate, camera and sound, and Lily, our researcher and low-key the glue keeping us on schedule. We were seniors at a university in Austin. The idea was to head up to a wooded area in rural central Texas near Bear Creek for the weekend, interview a few locals, throw in some shaky night vision footage, and stage a few fake encounters. Easy. The first day was smooth. We filmed an old man named Ellis who ran a bait shop near the creek. He didn't want to talk at first, but a six-pack of Lone Star loosened him up. "Thing's older than the road, older than any of us," he said. "Walks on two legs, but it ain't no man. Glows at night, screams like a woman dying. If you see it, pray it don't see you." We all exchanged glances and held back laughs. It was perfect material. That night, we set up camp about 2 miles from the nearest road. We had our gear, tents, cameras, mics, a drone, and enough batteries to film a low-budget feature. Lily found an old newspaper clipping from 1987 about a hunter who went missing in the same area. His truck was found parked by the trail. Inside, blood. No body. We filmed a few B-roll scenes of us hiking, sitting around the fire, talking about the legend. Nate even put on a crude werewolf mask and ducked behind some bushes for a staged jump scare. It was stupid fun. Then the second night came. Around 2 a.m., Lily shook me awake. "Jason, there's something out there." At first, I thought she was playing it up for the camera, but she looked genuinely scared. We stepped out of the tent, and Nate was already filming. It was quiet. No insects, no wind, no distant howls. Just silence. Then, rustling in the trees. Heavy, deliberate. Something large. Nate pointed the camera toward the tree line, squinting through the viewfinder. "Jesus," he whispered. "What the hell is that?" I looked through the lens. There, maybe 30 feet away, was something. Tall, fur-covered, at least 7 feet high. It wasn't moving. It was just watching us from between the trees. And its eyes, they glowed red, like hot coals. We froze. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then it stepped forward. Lily screamed and bolted back to the tent. Nate kept filming like an idiot until the thing charged. We scattered. Branches whipped my face as I ran. I didn't know where I was going, just away. I heard Nate scream, something heavy crashing through the trees behind him. A thud. Then nothing. I didn't see Lily. I didn't hear her. I hid beneath a fallen log and didn't move until the sun came up. When I finally made my way back to the clearing, everything was trashed. Tents shredded, gear scattered, blood, streaks of it, and Nate's camera, lying in the dirt, cracked, but still running. The footage. I shouldn't have watched it. It started off normal. But then came the moment, the creature standing at the edge of the woods, watching, the low growling, the camera catching a blur of fur, long claws, the glint of fangs, screams, Lily's voice calling for help, then cut off. I brought the camera to the sheriff's station in the closest town. They took the tape and said they'd look into it. A week later, they claimed it showed nothing unusual. They blamed a bear attack. But I know what we saw. Lily and Nate were declared missing. No bodies were ever found. No follow-up. No investigation. Just silence. 6 months later, I started seeing the red eyes in my dreams. Then, in the woods behind my apartment. Once in the rearview mirror while driving at night. A month after that, I packed a bag, left a note, and disappeared. Or I will. Soon. Because I know now, if you see it, it never stops watching you. Fall of 1978. I was riding shotgun down a logging road in East Texas with my coworker Randy, the kind of guy who'd smoke a cigarette with his morning coffee and talk about union strikes like bedtime stories. We were supposed to be checking on some idle rigs the company was shutting down. More symbolic than practical, just part of the end game for our jobs. He was quiet most of the way, watching the pine trees slide by. That's when I brought up how sad it was to see the company fall apart after so many years. Randy lit another smoke, cracked his window, and then, like he'd been waiting for the right kind of silence, he started telling me a story. "You know, my dad used to tell me something," he said, "back when he worked as an independent geologist, surveying up near Bear Creek." I glanced at him. "That around where people say those weird animal sightings happen?" He chuckled. "That's the one. And trust me, this ain't the kind of story you tell after a few beers. It stuck with me because, well, I saw what he showed me." He leaned forward, eyes narrowing like he was replaying it in his head. His dad, Harlan, was a no-nonsense kind of man. Worked alone mostly. One fall he was hired to scout a patch of land owned by a reclusive old rancher everyone called Mr. Dwyer. Hard-ass, short-tempered, and always threatening to pull the plug on the job. Thing is, that land, people in the nearby town said it was wrong. Not cursed exactly, just off. Livestock went missing. Hunters vanished. They said something lived out there. Something that wasn't a bear, wasn't a wolf, but might have been both. Harlan, a scientific man, brushed it off. After 2 weeks of tough work and cold nights, he returned to his little shack near the boundary line and found a note nailed to his front door. It was from Dwyer. Said he hadn't done good enough work, and he was liable to start paying for it. That night, pissed off and exhausted, he wrote the rancher a letter full of 4-letter words and sarcasm, slammed it in an envelope, and figured that was the end of it. He grilled himself a steak, mashed potatoes, garlic butter, popped open a Lone Star, sat on the porch as the sun dipped behind the tree line. That's when he heard it. A heavy thud behind him, like something big had just dropped from a tree. He turned. Bushes rustled. Then it stepped out. He said it was tall, taller than a man, but gaunt. Jet black fur, stretched thin across an unnatural frame. Its limbs were too long, its hands too human, and its eyes, yellow and unblinking. He ran inside, grabbed his shotgun, flung the door open and aimed. It didn't move, just stood there. Then it shifted its gaze to the stake. It took one step toward the plate, then another, slow like a stray dog too scared to steal. And then it looked at him, not just at him, but into him, and waited. Something about that stopped Harlan cold. He nodded once, just once. The creature stepped forward, picked up the stake with one hand, dropped down to all fours, and vanished into the woods. It became a habit. Once a week, it came. Sometimes twice. Sometimes it helped him drag dead deer. Other times, it just watched. Harlan said it was almost like a wild dog that hadn't quite forgotten humans. Not young, not old, not rabid, just something else. Then Randy's voice got lower. "One day," he said, "my dad got another note. From Dwyer. Apparently, Dwyer hadn't forgotten the insult. He wanted to make peace. Bring a gift," the note said. That night, Harlan waited. Truck headlights lit up the front path, but it wasn't one truck. It was 3. Dwyer got out first, 2 pistols in hand. "Told you I had a gift, Harlan," he yelled. "It's called consequences." Gunfire tore through the evening. A bullet shattered Harlan's leg. He crawled inside, slammed the door, and got to the balcony with his shotgun. Managed to drop one of the rancher's goons. Then from the woods, it came. Randy's voice broke a little. He said it didn't just attack, it hunted. Tore through him like paper, ripped one man's face off with a single swipe, took a shotgun blast to the chest and kept going. And Dwyer? It lifted the rancher off the ground like a rag doll and ripped him in half. Blood sprayed across the yard. Entrails glistened in the moonlight. And when it was over, Harlan limped down the porch steps with his shotgun raised, unsure if it would turn on him next. Instead, it walked up to him and rested its head on his chest. It whimpered. It helped him clean the bodies, bandage his wounds. Then it was gone again. He called the sheriff, claimed it was a group of meth heads attacking him. Didn't mention the beast. Nobody asked about the strange prints or the shredded bodies. They probably didn't want to know. Randy paused, glancing at me. I didn't believe him, he said. Thought it was some war vet fantasy. But then he brought me to the basement. He led me downstairs. There was a big tarp covering a display case, like something you'd see in a weird taxidermy shop. He pulled it off. Inside, preserved in glass, was it. Older, frail, clearly dead, but unmistakably the same creature. Long limbs, dark fur, a face somewhere between human and wolf. Its eyes, though cloudy in death, still had that eerie shape. He said it died 10 years after the rancher, Randy whispered. Came back one night bleeding bad. Laid on the porch and never got up. He buried it. Dug it up later to preserve it. Said he owed it that much. I looked at him. Why are you telling me this now? Randy stared at the road ahead. Because I think something else is out there. Something more. And I'm not so sure it died alone. People think making documentaries is about setting up a few cameras, asking some deep questions, and editing in some dramatic music. I thought the same at first. But what happened in Bear Creek changed that. Changed me. I still have the footage. I've watched it 100 times. I don't think I'll ever stop hearing the screams. It was fall, early November 1992. I had this idea to document real law enforcement, the kind you don't see on TV. I was tired of the glorified garbage. I wanted grit. So I pitched it to a small-town sheriff's department just outside of Bear Creek, Texas. They said yes. I built 4 custom body cams, small, secure, decent low-light pickup, and hooked them into a monitor setup I'd rigged inside the station's back office. My goal was simple. Ride along, monitor live footage, and cut together a piece that showed what being a cop really meant in rural Texas. I remember we were in the squad room, shooting B-roll and chatting with deputies Callahan, Ruiz, Martinez, and Polk. Then the 911 call came in. The dispatcher put it on speaker. The guy was shaking through the phone. Said something came through his back gate and killed his dog. But it wasn't just a coyote or stray. He described it as something tall, all black, with fur hanging off its body like rags. It had ears like a bat and eyes that looked like fireflies. The deputies exchanged looks, holding back grins. You get weird calls in towns like these. Meth heads, mountain lions, people with old folklore in their blood. No one thought it was serious until they rolled up on the guy's place. I stayed behind at the station, watching their cams feed into 4 separate monitors. Everything looked normal at first. Quiet, still daylight. The house was a small, single level with a sagging porch and wire fencing. Then I saw it. Long claw marks raked across the front door, deep enough to split the wood. I leaned in toward the monitors. You don't fake something like that. The man who called, name was Howard, yanked the door open when they knocked. You could see the fear pouring off him. sweating, pale, like he hadn't blinked in hours. He kept saying, "It comes back when it gets dark. It always comes back." That's when everything turned. From Martinez's body cam, his cruiser's headlights were still on. I saw it step out from behind the barn. It was huge, 7, maybe 8 feet. Black fur, filthy and matted, hanging in strips off a body too skinny to be a bear, too solid to be a man. Its arms reached its knees. Its head was long, narrow, with ears pointed back like a Doberman mid-snarl. Blood coated its hands. They all saw it at once, guns up, shouting commands. I heard the shots, 4 deputies unloading, but it moved. It didn't run like a man or an animal. It blurred, like it was dragging the world behind it. Bullets punched holes in the shed behind it, but not in it. Then came the screaming. Polk didn't make it inside. His cam caught the moment the thing caught him by the leg, yanked him off his feet, and dragged him back down the steps. I can't explain what it did to him. I wish I couldn't remember. It tore into him like he wasn't made of bones. Blood hit the camera lens. I saw pieces of him tossed into the bushes like garbage. Inside the house, it got worse. Howard screamed something from the kitchen, and then the ceiling cracked. Crashed. Martinez's cam snapped up just as the ceiling gave way, and the thing dropped through like it was made of smoke and hate. Howard was yanked straight up by the head. You could hear his skull pop. Then Ruiz, bless that bastard, grabbed his shotgun and fired point blank. One shot, clean, blew the creature's arm clean off. It shrieked, not a roar, not an animal cry, a sound that shook the walls and made the mics crackle. It was wounded. Finally. They didn't wait. They ran. I watched them stumble out to the cruisers, dragging each other into their seats. Callahan didn't stop driving until they hit the station again. I backed away from the monitors, shaking. Callahan stumbled in 10 minutes later, face cut, shirt soaked in Polk's blood. No one spoke. Later that night, when backup went to the house, they found nothing. No body, no creature, not even the arm. Just blood. Everywhere. We handed the footage over. Some men in suits came the next day. Not locals, not feds either. They took the hard drives and threatened me with federal obstruction charges if I made a copy. But they forgot the backup cache on my laptop. I don't show it to anyone. I won't. Not unless I know they believe me. Not unless I know they won't use it for something stupid. I still hear it sometimes. That sound it made when it lost its arm. I don't film cops anymore. I don't film anything anymore.